Yep. Then if you wish, the live will be on my wall on Facebook, and I will also send you tomorrow a YouTube link to share it. Just take some time to be uploaded.
Sounds good.
I'll tell you, it takes some minutes until it's going to Facebook. But I had some friends who came to Rebuild, actually. I've seen some pictures of them from Switzerland. Maybe you know them. You know Martin?
Ah, cool. Yeah, I know Martin.
Pretty nice.
How did you land on Rebuild? Because it seems like we have a few connections.
Actually, I think Martin sent me maybe last year or something. He sent me, actually, I was in Portugal back then, and he sent me, because I was in Portugal, I guess. So I think that was the connection, to tell you the truth. And then I checked what you're doing, and it's really funny because from the project that I started last year, but I realized it was not made for me to complete it. It was made for somebody else to complete it. So it's really beautiful to see that some people are doing it when you realize it's like, no, that needs to be done, but maybe not from myself, but still believing a lot in the vision. So I would love to know more also about, first of all, before we start going into more in-depth questions about what is the difference between the two projects and all of that, we are live on Facebook, just for you to know. And before we start really digging deeper into the projects, I would love to hear from yourself. How do you identify like Sam right now? Like, who is Sam in this specific moment in life? Just to say, I always like to start from the person and then go into the projects, because sometimes we forget that there's a person behind, like the visionary behind the project.
Yeah, thank you. Who am I? I think like many people today, I'm like a melting pot of cultures. I think a lot of people are losing like a strong sense of identity of, where they come from, attachment to a country really. And a lot of people are starting to feel this more like global, maybe like belonging. Yeah, I grew up between France and Denmark, and then I moved to the US. And then I was nomadic. I was traveling around the last 4 years until I decided to finally like start building the first Oasa here in Portugal. So yeah, I always kind of had this travel, I guess, and I always hung out with international people, nomads, and entrepreneurs and creatives, and basically all the parrots, all the people, a little bit on the fringe, I'd say. And yeah, I'd say that definitely qualifies me as well. I think people have a hard time sometimes defining me, putting me in a box, and that's a little bit by design. I don't really like boxes. I like to float around them. And yeah, I guess I'm a pretty playful person. I like to play. I like to look at the world with child's eyes, and so that's kind of what I would like to embody.
I love it. I'm definitely not intending to put anybody in a box. It's just interesting, even for ourselves, to have a definition of ourselves in a specific moment, and it keeps changing. So I always find it like very interesting to ask people who they are. The answers are very, very different and very interesting always. So is Portugal home now, for now at least? You are in Portugal right now, right? You're in Alentejo, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. I am in Portugal since a year and a half. And yeah, it's definitely a home. Last year we were living on a farm, and this year we're living on a bigger farm at the traditional dream factories that we're building out. And yeah, basically building a home, building roots, creating connections, and creating a sense of belonging with the people around us, and trying to rethink. A lot of us were living in New York before, me and my partner Annie and Cal, who's also living here. And so we have a lot of people coming from city life, and I think a lot of people have this, I guess, midlife crisis a little bit, or for some of them it's a Corona crisis, where they want to move out to the countryside and and reconnect with nature. To me, I think I always had that pull. Like I always wanted to find that balance between nature and city life, and also between like exploration and building routes, basically. And so that's what I'm trying to embody with Oasa, and creating a lifestyle that works for me, and that in the process should also work for another 300 members or so that we want to co-own these spaces with. Um, and so yeah, right now Portugal is home, and the intention is to build a few more of those places around the world. So to be able to call home not just a single geolocation, but actually like more a community entity that's cross-national, and have like a few places that you can interact with, just like the hunter-gatherers back in the days. They would always travel along the same paths, and they would come back to the same places, and they would have knowledge about the specific places, and they would be integrated with those local ecologies and systems that they would go through. So yeah, I think there's always this idea of going back to certain places, and being able to actually build roots and to really connect with the local community. And yeah, that's something we're focused on here in Portugal. We're hoping to host some parties for the town. They used to have the parties here in these buildings where I'm sitting. It's an abandoned chicken factory. It's been abandoned for 15-20 years, and yeah, since it was abandoned, it's just been used for some events and village parties and stuff like that. So we want to keep that tradition going and make it even better.
Show us a little bit around. Let us see where you are. If you want to turn your computer, you show the bit.
So yeah, so we have these glamping tents that we set up. We have 10 of them, and then we have 3 more buildings like this one. Ooh, let's see if you can come out the window.
Yes,
there's going to be the future pool area. Over here you have the lounge cafe area, and you have the industrial kitchen, and we have the workshop in the back. And then above on the land, right now we have access to 5 hectares. Where we're going to be building a food forest and experiential forest, and we already have like some glamping tents set up, and bar, and yeah, dry toilets and outdoor showers, and all the stuff that we had to get ready for hosting 100 people during rebuild.
I wanted to ask you about that actually, and I would definitely like to visit you if that's something that happens actually right now in your project, because I'm going to be in Portugal towards October again. But tell me about Rebuild. I know that you have been creating. Was it the second edition of Rebuild, or was it more?
So it was the first physical, first physical rebuild. We created we started a rebuild a year ago, a bit over a year ago. With the intention basically to really spread this knowledge of how to build villages, creating a network to support people who are starting these kind of regenerative villages. And yeah, TDF, the traditional dream factory where I'm sitting, is the first instance of a village that we are building as a team. But a lot of other people are starting these kind of projects around the world, and everyone kind of had the same idea at the same time. Oh, like, let's go into nature, let's build some regenerative villages, and let's live a bit more off the grid and create a new sense of belonging and purpose. So that's kind of the mission that we're on, and Rebuild is a way for us to accelerate the movement and to get more people on boarded, and to basically copy our model. Everything that we're doing, we are open sourcing, sharing the more the merrier. We're not trying to hold on to patents and technology and making a profit out of it. It's not designed as a business. It's designed as a new way of living that anyone can copy and create their own instances of these villages. So Rebuild is really for us a way to network and to create opportunities between people who have similar intentions and who want to start these kind of projects. And starting a village is really hard. It's probably one of the most ambitious things that you can do. And we're just here to try and help that process a little bit, give you access to all the information you need, give you access to a network of people who can support you and who can help you on your journey, and maybe just people who want to live in your village as well. So yeah, initially we had planned to do a physical event last year. We were planning on doing it on the lands of Waking Life, also here in Alentejo. But yeah, with the COVID rules, we postponed, and then we ended up doing an online version in May, and we had 600 people join, some amazing speakers, and all the content is all available on Rebuild website for anyone who wants to watch it. It's all been recorded, so it gives like a good base for people to have some knowledge on how do you start this kind of project, what are the governance models you can use, how do you interact with blockchain, how do you interact with permaculture, how do you interact with all these systems that you need to do in order to build a sustainable regenerative village. And yeah, and then after the online event, we decided we wanted to do a small physical version of it. And since we scaled down a bit, well, we wanted to about 100 people, just because of the COVID rules at the moment. So we ended up hosting it on our land, and actually it was a perfect decision, I think, to host it in a village being built. So we had 100 people come here in a pretty raw environment with like just dry toilets that we put up, some outdoor showers, and so on and so on. But it also brought all the best people. Like we had all these amazing people who are building villages around the world, or who want to build some and who are curious about this whole lifestyle. And people who care more about the purpose than the well, who care more about the process than the end goal as well. So yeah, so now we hosted the first event here with over 100 people. We had 5 days of workshops and connections, and we visited a bunch of the regenerative spaces close to where we are around Alentejo. So we tried to make it more than just about TDF, but about really the whole bioregion and how can you start these processes in this kind of context. And we had some amazing experts who came, talked about water management, land management, how to set up a nursery, how to do swales, how to start a blockchain, how to issue NFTs, kind of all the topics that we are very interested about and the audience is interested on. And of course, like the biggest gift of the conference was just that people co-create and share their visions and share their ideas.
Sounds really wonderful. How did you end up wanting to make a village? Like how was your path until there? I guess it was not something you were thinking when, like 10 years ago. I think I don't know when it started the vision actually, but how did you end up like being in that space that you are right now, creating what you're creating now?
Yeah, so for me, it started with digital nomadism and really having a strong sense that hopping from Airbnb to Airbnb was definitely not a sustainable way of living, whether that's, economically, ecologically, socially, and so on. It really doesn't bring you any sense of purpose or belonging. You're just at the mercy of the market, and there's nothing sustainable about it. So I basically wanted to harness that power and to, instead of just being a consumer, being a creator. And I think that's the mindset that I'm trying to shift into, which also comes from Burning Man culture and all these kind of things, where it's shifting from just, going to a local destination and experiencing the local things, to actually creating the local experiences with the locals and really integrating with them, building roots with them, creating systems that empower the local village to blossom and to. There's a big problem here in Portugal with people actually abandoning the rural areas, and so it's just such a it's just so interesting that you have all these digital nomads who have access to remote jobs anywhere in the world, and they're having like the incomes they can take with them. So so I started maybe 4 years ago this idea of why not just set up a space and get access to nature, get access to community, get access to way better living conditions that you can afford in a city. And so that's a track that we're on, and trying to bring together all the facilities that you have in the town. So, if you want to have access to a co-working space, we have one. If you want to get access to a maker space, if you want to get access to a library, cultural events, all these kind of things is what we are trying to bring to the countryside, basically. But also creating a stronger sense of community within the tribe that's sharing the space. Our idea is to make it more like a kind of hub in, hub out, like not be like a bubble, like a community where you have to commit and be there full time, but a space where you can come and spend a couple months every year. And the idea is that you keep repeating that. So you keep coming back, you keep building roots, you really have a sense of belonging and a sense of commitment to that space. And that brings us to the last point, which is we're trying to shift the mindset from ownership to stewardship. So Oasa was born with this idea, like this intent to live in nature and so on, but also a bigger purpose is to regenerate the planet. And we're creating a business model that can sustain regeneration of land. So the concept is basically to take the land out of the market by purchasing it and then putting it in a land lock. So if it was in the US or UK, it would be like a land trust, for example. That doesn't exist in Portugal, so we have to go some other ways around it. But that's the base idea, that we are protecting this land, creating a business model that can sustain it, and bringing people, nomads, and creatives and entrepreneurs that just need a place to live, basically, and that are curious and that want to be surrounded by like-minded people and have access to nature and have access to makerspace, industrial kitchen, and growing our own food, being self-sufficient in terms of energy, in terms of whatever you need. And I think that today we have all the technology and the solutions to actually live a sustainable life. And I think that's a message that gets a bit lost. But actually, we can live fully sustainable, off the grid, while having like luxurious lives compared to our predecessors. And really, there's nothing holding us back from it. It's just taking the step and actually doing it. And all the technology is there. For the last 30-40 years, people have been developing all these sustainable technologies. So already today we are fully self-sufficient in terms of energy. That was one of the first things we did, was putting up solar panels and batteries. So now all the energy that we use comes from the sun, and we have a roof over our head, we have space to grow things. So, we can be slowly more and more sustainable and regenerative, and leaving a positive footprint on the planet.
Yeah, it's really beautiful that this movement has started picking up, and people are start realizing more and more that you actually don't need to be in a tiny apartment in a city. You can have a much better life being in the countryside. And I also love that you are integrating business models in it, because I have seen many times communities trembling when they don't think about how this will become financially sustainable also, just like ignoring this part. And in the end, it's the one that can create difficulties. Like it actually does create difficulties very early on in the traditional meaning of communities. And it's very nice, the open model that you are like the hopping in and off to avoid a lot of re-traumatizing and triggering situations that can also happen in the closed circle. So I really love that what you're doing in Portugal, and I hopefully will just keep growing. And I think that Portugal is also a very fertile soil, because somehow has attracted a lot of people who are in this with the same mindset. It keeps attracting more and more people. I already have several friends that are thinking about being there in October. Like, I see that there's movement every year happening in Portugal, which I guess might end up passing by from you. Tell me, where are you exactly in your project right now? So like, in which stage are you? And what are the next steps? So what's coming?
So basically with Rebuild, I have someone coming. we completed the first milestone in the build phase. So basically, we divided the project in 4 phases, and at every step we have different achievements that we have to do. So basically, I mean, we took the whole project. We had like a rough idea of the design. We've been working with local architects how to build like a sustainable platform here, and then we set a total budget, and then we define milestones. So this is what we want to achieve this year, and so on and so on. So it's pretty structured, and it's meant to be like flexible, so we can divide it into phases and just have like bite-sized progress, basically. So I think I'm gonna have to talk to these.
You have visitors.
But yeah, where was I?
So you completed the first milestone, and I guess you're moving towards the second now. Do you need to talk to them? Like, if you need to say something, no worries.
1 second.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, we have some visitors from the.
No problem. I can have any time in an open space.
Yeah.
So you were telling me actually that you completed rebuild was the first milestone, and that you're moving along,
exactly.
I guess.
So where we are now. So basically, we have the very basic infrastructure now to host like up to 100 people for events or like medium to short term experiences and so on. And we have a few experiences lined up, and in the fall we're going to be starting to plant the agroforest, and we're hosting a retreat the last 2 weeks of October called Alentejo, where we are actually going to be exploring how we live together. So it's like a real life experiment in a place that's actually getting built. So that's going to be pretty interesting to give us some ideas on how to upgrade the model. And we've been working on this pink paper. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but it's linked on traditionaldreamfactory.com. And basically it describes our process and how we operate, and everything that we do, it's going to be described in that document, and it's kind of like our constitution. So it's co-created between all the members that are joining, and it describes all the values that we want to abide by, and all the way out into all the granular details of how we actually operate. And so right now, like, we're at the stage where, I mean, obviously, like me and Annie and Cal, who have been like the full-time team up until now, we had like a lot of influence and so on, and we want to make it more of a collective project now. So we're starting to actually bring in stewards who are going to be steering the space and steering how we do things, steering the community, bringing new people in, and really like making it a collective experience rather than just a project started by, you know, a couple or something. So we're trying to get into that territory, and I think that will really like bring TDF to the next level, like making it a village rather than a house, basically. And so we're working on that, and then in the winter we're probably going to take a little bit of a break, since the buildings are not going to be insulated and so on yet, so it's not going to be super cozy. And then when we come back in the spring, we're going to get into full construction mode and build the first 6 bedrooms and the bar cafe in the buildings here. And then, just go from milestone to milestone. And right now we're in the process of also raising the first round of capital. We had the seed round done, which enabled us to do all of the things we've done up until now. And now we're going to be raising the first round from members. So it's all member owned and operated. And so basically we're going to be raising the capital to build the first proper rooms and the cafe and all of those things. And then from here, we're just going to just see where it takes us. I mean, we are open, and this is a playground. We're just happy to experiment and to try new things, and it's a first village that we're building, and we want to really make it a model that can be scaled up. So we are incorporating as much feedback and ideas and as we can, and just it's going to be definitely an evolutionary experiment over the next few years to see how it evolves.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I feel that we're also redefining many of the relationships of how we live together anyway. So I'm not sure that somebody has the answer now, but it's definitely very interesting to experiment and see what's coming up, like new ways of doing things, actually. So please keep me posted as you go. We'll be very happy to discuss the collaborative models, because I feel it's also our way out of traditional funding, and we're probably going to implement the same for funding projects of our network, like as we go, but from the membership itself, instead of asking for external investors, just to start breaking out of the cycle, right? As much as possible. And also very happy also to, I will send you at some point the website that's still on, even though the project is not going on, of Conscious Gems, and you will understand how close the ideas were. So I'm really, really happy that you're making it happen. It really felt that this is where we are heading towards, and something that we definitely need. And it's beautiful to see it happening in Portugal, so it's a beautiful country. So before we close, I will just like to ask you two more things that I ask all my speakers. And one is, what do you consider to be your unique gift as a person? So what are you bringing to this world, like you yourself personally? And second, what kind of support you need right now for your project to evolve? Because maybe connections can be made. I really love to introduce people to others. I really love to make everything that can support actions that make this world more playful and happy and interesting. So I'd love to hear these two from you before we go.
Yeah, thanks. So what I'm bringing, I'm bringing a playground for sure. I'm all about, experimenting, playing, trying new things, and because I had a cushy job in the tech sectors, I mean, that I'm able to actually like also finance this place and help, run it and do the first step, which is pretty hard. Like, as you know, like you need to get the first people to get on board, and it's a whole new way of living and thinking about things. So that's kind of my gift to the world right now, is to really come up with this beautiful model without having any sense of ownership or trying to get a return on it. It's really just living the life that I would like to live and helping others to live that life as well. So yeah, I think that's my gift. And about the needs, like I said, we're trying to decentralize organization at this moment, even further than we already are, and so we are open for any stewards who want to come. And so it's stewardship of the land. If you know about permaculture, agroforestry, whatever, it's stewardship of the economic system, which right now it's mostly about like the construction and like actually building this place. But we did launch a first product during Rebuild, which was kombucha. So we had kombucha on tap one of the evenings, which was very nice. And so in the future, we're going to have all these businesses operating within the village, which are owned either by the community or by one of the members of the community, and they all benefit the whole system. So that's something that we will be developing, and we're basically building the container that can hold all the innovation and the creativity for our members. And yeah, and lastly, we're also definitely looking to have, people who can bring community and events and gathering people, leading the way. So that's like 3 types of stewardship that we are seeking: land and community and economics. And right now we're inviting some of our closest members to basically become the host. And so when you become a steward, you have to take ownership for 1 month out of the year. You own TDF. You become the steward. You take care of checking people in, cleaning the space, running the kitchen, whatever. And you can bring artists, you can bring experts, you can bring other people on board to create the experience. But the goal is to have this like renewal. So every month there's going to be a fresh perspective on what it means to live together.
That's really interesting. I would love to see how it goes over the time, and definitely do let me know. We will connect a lot more like after the interview. Anyway, I don't want to take time from that for you. I just want to thank you for the connection today before we go off Facebook, and just allow some moments if you feel like sharing something for the closing.
Yeah, thank you so much. And well, for anyone listening out there, I hope you're finding the village of your dreams. And I know a lot of people have this idea right now. And yeah, I think just do the first step and go and visit some villages. And there's a lot of alternative communities and new ways of living that we can already try today. And it's all going to happen in the next 10 years. Like a whole society is going to transition to a new model. So you might as well try it out now and see what you like.
Thank you so much, Sam. I will go off Facebook and then we continue the same call for the rest.
Sounds good.
Just stop the live stream. I'll stop the recording for now.